Hello, New Zealand. There we are. I just had to set us going on Instagram. Peter Williams, nice to have you on board. It's nothing to do with you that I wasn't quite ready to click that button when I was supposed to. But anyway, we are live across all our platforms. How are you, Peter?
I'm very well, thank you, Bob. Simon O'Connor, otherwise engaged today, is he?
Oh, yeah, grifting on some other taxpayer-funded tour. I don't know. I can't keep up with them all. No, actually,
You're far too kind to him as a boss, Bob. Far too kind.
A family commitment. So no, family
Okay.
first. So very important. But nice to have you on. And look, we have got a pile of topics to get through. So let's get straight into it. I just want to show you the image of the day. Political parties. I always notice politicians, they would tend to hang around babies. They loved holding babies, politicians, for photos. And then if they didn't like babies and a little bit of vomit or something, or the smell, they would hold on to pets, cute Labradors or kittens or something. But the latest trend, and this is from the Labour Party conference last weekend, is that they love hanging around drag queens. Heavens knows why, but it just seems to be the image of the day. Well, especially for left-wing parties. So, I mean, I'm not sure if they're future candidates, mascots.
I think that's the future Labour Party leader in the middle of the photo, isn't it?
I just love the hairstyle on the right. That just really gets me going. Anyway, look, let's get straight into it. And a couple of topics that weren't sort of on our original run sheet, but they have been late breaking news. And that is firstly the resignation of Andrew Costa. I just want to show you this little clip from One News, which I'm sure you watched not. But it just reminds us of sort of where he came from. And actually, Simon Bridges, the ex-leader of the National Party, who the media hated, I think he might have been right.
Ex-Commissioner of Police will be Andrew Costa. Andy is the candidate who I believe can take the police forward.
And while Costa helped oversee firearms reforms following the March 15 terror attack, he soon became target practice for the National Party.
Why did you call Andrew Costa a wokester commissioner?
Look, because he is. Much less about arrest, much less about catching gangs and criminals, much more about being hip and doing things to sort of, I think impress a bunch of other wokesters.
Police were initially caught flat-footed by the COVID occupation at Parliament. Eventually, they cleared the protesters out amidst a massive riot.
If you're in a tent, get out of there!
The proudest day of my career was the day that we cleared the grounds of Parliament. Our people did an outstanding job, and it was a great day to be a New Zealand police officer.
But when National came to power, the writing was on the wall for Costa. He left police and found a new role as the head of the Social Investment Agency. That's now abruptly ended too, amid findings of serious misconduct regarding police bosses' backing of dodgy Deputy Commissioner Jevan McSkimming.
Okay, I mean, he did have the nickname Cuddles Costa. Was he your favourite police commissioner, Peter?
No, and Simon Bridges, on reflection, only told us the least of his sins. To call him a wokester is 100% correct, and Simon got that right as far back as 2021 when Costa was appointed. But the reality is that Costa was involved in the blocking of information to the Minister of Police about Jevan McSkimming. And that is just appalling behaviour. I see that he's been paid off his entitlement. One imagines that because he's been allowed to resign, he gets 3 months' pay. And as a consequence, that quoted figure of 124,000 or 130,000 or whatever is nothing more than his contractual arrangement. But I don't believe he should have been allowed to resign. It was obviously a negotiated exit. He should have been fired. He should have been summarily dismissed and given the don't come Monday, because when you get involved in activities such as deliberately blocking information to your minister, as he did, then he should not ever have been appointed to another role inside the government. When that behaviour was discovered, it should have gone back one job and he should have been dismissed on the spot. And I think he's been very lucky to get away with what he has got away with. And I doubt very much if he can ever get a job in New Zealand again. I mean, who would employ this guy? He is not trustworthy. And I think that is the worst sin of all as far as Andrew Costa is concerned.
Yeah.
And I was appalled, actually, that Brian Roche, so Brian Roche is the Public Service Commissioner, was almost giving him some credit this morning, saying, he's not a bad man. I'm sorry, he is a bad man. He stopped information deliberately going to his minister. You cannot do that, Bob.
I noticed in the statement that it said nothing, there was no corruption, and yet the current police commissioner said, well, to him it was corruption. So
yeah, absolutely.
Part of the prepared statement, was it?
Yeah, it's just something that you have your lawyer negotiate with their lawyer, and so many of these. It's not just in the public service; it's in the private sector as well. I've recently been involved in various roles that I have in an employment matter, and it's difficult, but in the end, people want to walk away with dignity. In our case, we did allow the dignity, but I wasn't entirely happy about it. And then in this case, Brian Roche, I think, has just been way too kind, but it is a negotiated exit. The good news is, though, that he's gone, and compared to the cost for Diana Safati to leave the Ministry of Health and the cost for Sarah Fitt to leave Pharmac, well, it's about, a third of the price. So I suppose we can be thankful for small mercies. But what is it? 850,000, 837,000 in public sector redundancy or exit payments have been made public this week. It's just quite extraordinary. The best part of $1 million going to 3 people to leave jobs at the public service.
I'm in the wrong gig, and I just hope my staff aren't listening, because I'll expect similar payouts.
There was you fire them,
There was a poll that came out this week, and interestingly, the media have not reported it at all that I can find. And it was an interesting one. It's the Roy Morgan poll, and it found that actually National actually increased, and Labor went to its lowest level. The figures were, and I've just circled, so they've got the 2023 election out the far left. But on the right, in the circle, you can see that National is on 33. And if you go down to Labor, they are on 28. That's one of their lowest polls, just slightly above the last election. And overall, the right wing have 50 and the left wing have 44.5%. The others go to the minor parties, whoever they may be. Is Roy Morgan not generally reported? Why haven't we seen this? Is it because National did reasonably well out of this?
I don't know. I know that Roy Morgan is one of the longest established polling companies in Australasia. Quite why it doesn't have the credibility of other ones, I don't know. Maybe because it's not owned by a particular media organisation. One News or Radio New Zealand or the Herald have not contracted Roy Morgan to do that particular poll. Neither have any of the political parties. So I don't know why it doesn't have the credibility that others do, but for some reason it doesn't. But I heard a really interesting thought this morning from Mike Hosking, who suggested that the polling industry is really in a battle at the moment to retain any sort of credibility, because there is a marked reluctance on the part of many members of the public to take part. Now, when you do a political poll, you obviously need to get a cross-section of the community in terms of demographics and ethnicity and geographical spread and the like. But the polling companies are really struggling to find a big enough sample size across the country and across the age groups to make them credible. So maybe it's not just the Roy Morgan poll which media organisations are having a problem with. Perhaps it's the entire polling industry as such. I know that you guys have a relationship with David Farrer at Curia, and he's doing some work for you or has done some work for you on various issues. So it'd be really intriguing to talk with him just to see how his company finds in terms of getting the appropriate size sample of 1,000 people.
But I know that was the issue with the United States election, and the fact of the matter is that they're so divided over there, and especially on the Conservative side, they weren't keen on talking to people about their views, especially if they were voting for Trump. I tell you where they don't have trouble getting people making or getting involved in polls. That's when the pro-trans group goes out and does an online poll amongst all their group. It it gets, lots of people on board and all their supporters and the druggies as well. They have no trouble finding people to fill in their online forms, and then everyone freaks out that our drug consumption is going through the roof when actually figures show that actually no, it's decreasing. So anyway, that's an interesting part about polls. Sorry, just a couple of other quick topics that I did see in the media that I was keen to get your response on, especially with the media. So Willie Jackson has been accused of bullying, or his wife, through the organisation that he is part of, but he hasn't been accused of bullying, or his wife hasn't been accused of bullying by a right winger. He's been accused of bullying by Matt McCartan, who's a unionist, Labor, friendly, has good mates with Willie Jackson. And look, this has been broken by Cam Slater, who's the good oil. So, it's kind of a off their blog, and no media has picked it up. And yet I would imagine if Elon Musk and Donald Trump had a breakup, do you think they'd report? Oh, hang on, they did. Why is nobody reporting this major bust up with two major lefties in New Zealand?
Well, it's not just the bust-up between Willie Jackson and Matt McCartan. It's Willie Jackson's behaviour as well. This is involving the Manukau Urban Maori Authority, MUMA, which was started by Willie Jackson's mother, Dame June Jackson. Willie himself, before he became an MP, was the chief executive. His wife is now the chief executive. Do you detect a wee bit of nepotism there, Bob? Just a little, perhaps? And then
sounds like the Manurewa Marae and John Tamahiri.
Well, of course, they're very closely related, and they're both funded by the taxpayer. Jackson and Tamahiri, of course, have been mates as well. They used to run a radio show together. So you've got Jackson, who's now a Labor member of Parliament, not involved directly, doesn't have an official role with MUMA. His wife is the chief executive. His wife has been accused of bullying the staff, and apparently there's 100 staff at MUMA, basically all paid for by the taxpayer. And there was a review by some board members. Willie Jackson gets involved and has basically told the chairman of the board to make the review of her name's Tanya, his wife Tanya, the chief executive, to make that review of Tanya's behaviour go away. Then even worse, he ensures that the chairman is voted out of his position by the board members at a board meeting. And then the board chairman has not only lost his chairmanship, he has lost his position on the board as well, which of course is completely unconstitutional. The whole thing is being orchestrated by Willie Jackson. We talk about John Tamahiri having his personal fiefdom out in West Auckland at the Waiparera Trust. It appears as if the Jackson family had their personal fiefdom at the Manukau Urban Maori Authority, MUMA, in South Auckland. So it just never stops. And McCartan was brought in to help the staff members who have been bullied. Has written firstly to Chris Hipkins. This has been going on most of this year, apparently, Bob. He's written to Chris Hipkins to complain about Jackson's behaviour. No response from Hipkins. So now he's written to the Speaker saying this is basically behaviour completely unbecoming from a Member of Parliament, getting involved in an employment situation which he has nothing to do with apart from family connections. So the upshot is that McCartan and Jackson have fallen out completely. The best of hat tips to Cam Slater. It's a cracking story, absolutely cracking story, which should be all over the media, but it's not. But then only last week, Slater had another fantastic story telling us about the relationships between the anti-smoking lobby, the Professor Hooks of this world, and of all things, a tobacco company called, I think it's 22nd Century, who specialise in low nicotine cigarettes, and how the legislation, and Aisha Verrill was deeply involved with these people as well. It's the Otago University anti-smoking brigade. Aisha Verrill, as an Otago University lecturer before she went to Parliament, was deeply involved with them. Anyway, it's connections between the anti-smoking lobby and a cigarette company. Slater has exposed that for what it is, which is hypocrisy with a capital H. Once again, no mainstream media pickup of another cracking story. So twice in 2 weeks, Cameron Slater, whom I don't know, but, in a funny sort of way, I've really admired what he does. He has come up with 2 absolute magnificent pieces of journalism.
Yeah.
No follow-up. No follow-up.
No. And he's not the only one. There's also, who's the guy down in Christchurch?
Chris Lynch.
Yeah, Chris Lynch. He's got a beautiful golden retriever. So that's why we're buddies. But, he breaks some stories as well. I think we've all been doing that. Actually, I noticed here, Karen says that Michael Laws reported on it. So that's on the platform.
He had an interview with Matt McCartan this morning.
Yeah.
So a lot of the information that I've just relayed there, Bob, I picked up from that interview. So Laws has followed it up. McCartan seemed to think that Radio New Zealand might be doing something on it. You probably listen to RNZ more than I do, Bob. So
we'll come back to that. I got some polling that I want to run by you. Fourth Adams says that Bridges actually sounded quite good given the wishy-washy stuff from National these days.
It was great, wasn't it? Yeah, he was a wokester. I mean, can you imagine Chris Luxon ever calling a police commissioner a wokester? Oh, that's because Luxon himself's a wokester. That's the problem.
What you're looking at, Willis, God, these names you get on YouTube have cracked me up. Labor win the election year. Odds are the mainstream media get a funding increase. Well, you might be right. Look, just one other story now that we're talking about golden retrievers and cats. So Leo Malloy, he breaches suppression orders because he names the killer of Grace Millane, which I think a lot of people were annoyed that there was name suppression in the first place. He gets convicted. He does the crime, does the time. And because he used to be a vet, apparently all the sick dogs, cats and rabbits ganged up on him and asked the vet council to discipline him as well. Could you just tell me what sick animals have got to do with someone who's not even, he's a restaurateur now. This seems like a blatant hit job.
Oh, it's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. He has not been a vet for 10 years. Before that, he was a jockey as well. He's had a great, colourful career.
The horses are picking on him as well. Gee.
I imagine he talked his way through everything. Now, of course, he's made the inevitable move into hospitality, where he's a very successful operator down at the headquarters bar.
Yeah.
Leo is never short of a word. He felt that at the time of the Grace Millane, Jesse Kempson trial, he felt there was a point of principle. He knew he was breaking the law, but he decided that he was prepared to take the risk because, after all, how many people in New Zealand ever get convicted for breaking name suppression orders?
Exactly.
He unfortunately was prosecuted. I think he paid $15,000 at the time. But that was 4 years ago, Bob, 4 years ago. And for some bizarre reason, 10 years out of the veterinary profession, he's pummeled by the Veterinary Council. He doesn't have a registration. He's a member of the Veterinary Association. The Veterinary Council is the body that is responsible for the registration. It's like the Medical Council. You've got to be registered with the Medical Council to operate as a medical practitioner. You've got to be registered with the Veterinary Council to operate as a veterinarian. And Malloy is not. He's retired. He won't be going back to it. But for some reason, these people have stung him with a $23,000 fine. Yeah, do they have the ability to do that? Does he have to pay it? What will happen if he doesn't pay it? These are all intriguing legal questions.
Well, I'm a bit worried.
I'm sure Leo would be tempted to flip the middle finger at them, frankly.
I'm a bit worried because I used to be a registered teacher and I used to be a registered chartered accountant, and I also was a scout and I used to play for high school old boys soccer team. I'm a bit worried that all those 4 groups are going to come after.
That's all right, Bob. Tell them you vote Labor and you'll be right.
Rosie says murderers do not deserve name suppression because the victims don't get their name suppressed, which is true. Name suppression should apply until you're found guilty, and then you lose name suppression. Maybe it was just the timing on that particular one. But look, let's not hang around. Let's continue because there are, like I said, there are a few topics that I do want to touch on. This one about the media. So the government's coming under pressure because there is a whole lot of mass layoffs in the media sector last year. Melissa Lee got sacked because the media got annoyed with her and Luxon lacked backbone to back her up. The new media minister, Paul Goldsmith, has done nothing. And now they're putting pressure on the government and whining. So this was a story and stuff. Look, as someone out of the media, how much is it up to the government to bail out the media, or do they face the commercial market just like every other business?
I don't want the government in my life at all, Bob. I just do not want the government in my life. And I don't believe the government should be coughing up 70 million to bring Lincoln Park here, to put on concerts featuring 660. I'm sorry. Government subsidy of private events is just something that I completely and vehemently disagree with. And in terms of government subsidies for the media industry, I'm sorry, just get on with it. Make your own profits. If you can't survive because you don't have enough consumers, tough. Only the strong will survive. And dare I say it, Bob, only the journalistically balanced will survive.
Okay, well, that's a
fine thing.
That's a lovely segue into the next one, because this spectacular own goal by the school complaining about the food that turned up, the rotten food. I mean, I actually think that this whole story about the lunches, which has actually gone off the complete media radar today, it's gone zero, it's zilch, silence. And I know why, and you'll know why.
The Food Safety Authority was right.
I mean, there were so many porkies being told. I mean, first the school said, oh, we don't have any facility for the heating of food, so therefore no. And then you look at their website and they've got a state-of-the-art commercial kitchen, and they've been trying to get the contract back themselves. I actually had a look at their website and they can't actually spell words properly. So maybe if they spent more time on spelling rather than on whining about food. But look, just before we cover the media aspect of it, this was a spectacular own goal by the school, because they whined about something and then it was proven that actually they hadn't been totally upfront, and they'd been campaigning to pull out of the program. And apparently the principal has made at least 10 complaints about various aspects. So what was David Seymour's line? She's a frequent flyer. It was actually quite funny.
Yeah, well, she's been in the news before, Bob, because she used to be the principal at Rangiora High School, and the Board of Trustees out there fired her, I think, around about 2017. She was the principal at Rangiora for over a decade. She won that. Obviously the board did not follow the process very well in terms of dismissing her, and in the end she got a payout of $150,000.
Wow. I'm in the wrong job.
Yeah. She did not go back to Rangiora High School. She went off and did a PhD of all things, Bob, before emerging as the principal of what used to be called Hagley High School, Hagley Community College, or Hagley Community Campus. Now it has this name, Hayata Community Campus. It is, talking of things woke, it is about as woke as they come. But they don't teach them how to spell very well, obviously.
Now, just in terms of the media coverage, though, I thought the media didn't cover themselves well in glory, because they heard the complaint, they immediately rushed out. They didn't do just basic background checking, but this is the problem with the media that we have today, is that they go for the bait rage, or rage bait, which way around do you say it? And which is the Oxford Publishing word of the year, apparently, rage bait, just designed to evoke emotion. But the media aren't sort of corroborating stuff, checking stuff in the background before publishing. And I think that's the danger, is that, what's the saying? The lies are well down the road before truth has even got its pants on. And it seems like that's the case with the media coverage of this. The media were all over it. Once the other side came out, suddenly it's gone quiet and they're not even reporting it again. They'll wait for the next complaint. Like, for example, the fly in the food, which came from a friend of a friend of a friend and was proved to be completely bogus as well.
Well, of course, the the man at the centre of the school lunch program, the Associate Minister of Education, David Seymour, is the target that everybody in the mainstream media wants to belittle as much as possible. The Deputy Prime Minister, for whatever reason, is just target number one for anything he is perceived to get wrong. They're on his case big time. I suspect it's because David Seymour, frankly, is just way too smart, way too intelligent, and has an ability to verbalize an issue precisely, succinctly, way better than any journalist does. And David Seymour is still, one of the outstanding politicians, if not the outstanding politician in the country, because of his ability to cut to the chase. And the way that he called Peggy Burrows, the principal of the Hayata Community Campus, a media frequent flyer, that was just a brilliant line, wasn't it? And of course, that incensed Ms. Burrows as well, who said she felt hurt by it. Well, and that, of course, had to be reported as well. I mean, whoop-de-doo, Ms. Burrows, you were hurt by a political comment.
Oh, well, no, it was bullying,
You're the
Peter.
one that started it.
Yeah, it was severe bullying. And actually, look, let me just show you this clip because I did hear it, so I went and searched it out. It sounded quite funny. The Labor were trying to have a go at David Seymour yesterday about these lunches and painted this terrible picture. I mean, what is it? 250,000 lunches every day by the taxpayer. And, apparently one of them has a fly, one of them, a kid got burnt, and another had some fluff on it, which I have to confess I have served up to my kids food with fluff on it. Don't tell anyone. But anyway, they had a go at David Seymour, and he did have some funny lines. And you'll hear one of the Labor MPs call David Seymour a jerk. This is parliamentary behaviour.
At what point, after a child has been burnt, another has bitten into plastic, bugs have been served up in lunches, will you concede that this program has been a flop?
About the same time as you get an Oscar for that performance.
Supplementary.
Yeah.
Instead of bullying those who speak up about the school lunches, why won't you allow anybody who is not happy with the school lunches provided by the School Lunch Collective to leave the contract?
Well, it's very simple. We deliver free meals paid for by the taxpayer. That is a very good deal. And as for your accusations of bullying, I mean, this is supposed to be an exercise in evaluating value for taxpayer money. If you're looking for another career as an actor, then, I don't like your chances.
Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think your behaviour has been appropriate?
I absolutely do.
Pull this back in. It's just lift it, ask the question, get an answer.
Yeah.
But the point is well made. If you want a serious answer, ask a serious question.
It is a serious question. The way the Deputy Prime Minister has been bullying a principal who was simply speaking up on behalf of her school after they had an issue, I think is unprofessional by this minister. That school has asked to leave this program before, and that has not been allowed.
Well, I flatly reject the accusation.
It's an interesting admission that she says the school tried to leave the program. So the school has obviously got form, it's got history. But this, I didn't actually hear David Seymour bullying. I just heard him pushing back and saying, well, she says that the food was terrible and went to the media and made a complaint. In fact, MPI, what was it? The Food Safety Group went in.
Food Safety Authority,
Yeah, went in and established that, no, it's most likely that 9 were delivered the previous week and only 8 went back to the suppliers. So therefore, there was a bit of a bungle up by the school. Move on, you made a mistake. That doesn't sound like bullying. It sounds like a debate of the facts.
Indeed. And, the Food Safety Authority, they're public servants. If they're going to be involved in politics, which we know many public servants are, you would think they would be on the side of the school. But no, they assessed what the situation was, assessed the facts, and said the school made a mistake. And then to have that compounded by the principal telling an out-and-out lie, we don't have any facilities to heat lunches, and then it's proven on their website they've got a commercial kitchen. I mean, does she think we're stupid or something? Does she think that we can't look at their website?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just extraordinary that she would make these statements. So, the point is that Peggy Burrows has had a long-running tiff with the centre-right government, and this is just another example of it.
Yeah.
And anyway, we come back to the basic thing. I just talked about government funding $70 million to get Lincoln Park and 660 in concerts around New Zealand. You've raised the subject of possibly the media being subsidised by the government again, Bob, and now we have school lunches. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of the government having to pay all the time. This country is in deep financial shtuck, and the school lunch program is unnecessary. It is absolutely unnecessary, because even if you are the poorest of the poor, even if you live in abject poverty, it costs less than $1 to get your child a school lunch. All it requires is a bit of effort. Bob, I make my own lunch myself every now and then when I go out for the day. It's a couple of slices of bread, a bit of butter, and a bit of honey. It takes about a minute to prepare. Chuck an apple and a ginger nut biscuit in there and you're good to go. I mean, there's no effort involved, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
And it just annoys the heck out of me that we have to pay this multi-billion-dollar company, Compass, share market listed in the UK, that we have to pay them, $350 million to feed kids because their parents basically are lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, I take my hat off to David Seymour, the fact that he campaigned against having lunches in schools and then he's had to administer the program. But to his credit, he said, well, he's been given the job.
He's going to get value for money, yeah.
Yeah, he's going, and fair enough. Look, that just does segue into throwing money away, and I know this one will trigger you, so that's why I'm keen to go to this one, and it's the one around...
I haven't been triggered already today, but no, right.
It's around the Paris Pledge. Apparently it's all hot air because Nicola Willis has said, well, no, we're not going to throw money at it, and we're not going to send money overseas for the Paris Agreement to cut net carbon emissions so that these activists can fly planes to their next conference and so that everyone can drive cars down to the next protest in Wellington. But they were looking at offshore credits to meet our so-called carbon emissions. Don't talk about cows farting, by the way. And the last time Treasury looked at it, they thought it was between 3 billion and 24 billion. This is what the Post said. This is Stuff's, the Dominion Post. The last time Treasury looked at it, though, between 3 billion and 24 billion. There is a huge degree of uncertainty. No kidding. $21 billion difference, you think. But Nicola Willis says, well, why send money overseas? And I think, okay, if you're going to virtue signal on this so-called climate alarmism, not a cent should go overseas. If you're going to do anything, look at efficiencies in New Zealand and reduce our emissions. I mean, that is the kind of the least harm approach that I would take. But credit to the government that they're not buying into this stuff.
Well, we've just had, COP30 in Belém in Brazil.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. It was a lovely trip and beautiful flights.
Yeah. Who wasn't there, Bob? Let's see. China. India, USA, and Russia. What's the total emissions, GHG emissions that come from those four countries? I think around about 60%. I mean, it's just extraordinary that the biggest emitters in the world have given up on this. And there is a man visiting New Zealand. In fact, I think he's making his first speech about now, Bob. He was due to talk in Clevedon, just south of Auckland, about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Professor William Happer, Emeritus Professor of Physics at Princeton University, former advisor to was it the Clinton or the George Bush the first administration?
Yeah,
in the
early 90s.
Early 90s.
He got sacked when Gore came in because
when Gore and Clinton
he was challenging the science. There's a great interview with Leighton Smith in Leighton's latest podcast.
I was listening to that today. So William Happer's in the country at the moment. Of course, he'll be getting mainstream media coverage every night too, won't he, Bob? He'll be a lead story on the 6 o'clock news. He'll be front page in the Herald, and in particular, he'll be front page of the Post in Wellington, saying that basically don't attack our dairy herd. If you wiped out, what did he say? More than there's 1.7 billion cattle in the world. If all of them were slaughtered, the difference in the world's temperature, because of the fact that they wouldn't be emitting methane, would be 0.07 of a degree, so not even 1/10 of a degree. So
and
in other words,
barbecues would really suck as well.
yeah, yeah, we'd be cooking carrots
We'd be
on the
having
barbecue, wouldn't
vegan,
we? Yeah,
vegan barbecues. I wouldn't be going.
yeah. I mean, Happer, as a scientist, has proven that climate alarmism is just wrong, and I think that a lot of people, as many people as possible, should hear the science that he is going to tell his meetings around the country. And he's going to be from Clevedon down through Waikato, down through the Bay of Plenty, I think, into the Wairarapa, Wellington.
Do you know
and the South
who's
Island.
hosting him?
Yeah, it's the Methane Science Accord, which is a group of farmers closely involved with groundswell.
Good.
So Bryce McKenzie and Laurie Patterson from Groundswell, I think, are involved in it. But the Methane Science Accord is a group of farmers. Owen Jennings, former chair of Federated Farmers, is part of it. And Jane Smith, who's a rather outspoken farmer from North Otago, is also heavily involved with it as well. So they're the main people who are here. Right. To be fair, it's speaking to aimed at the farming community. I just hope that his coverage is a lot more than just preaching to the choir, Bob. And it would help if some people inside the mainstream media had, just a mind that was a teensy-weensy bit open on this issue. It just would be, Bob, it might even give them a bit more credibility, because heaven forbid they're fighting for it at the moment, aren't they?
I know. Actually, just related to that, Simon Dello resigned, retired from One News. And not that I'm a great supporter of One News, but and I saw some of the commentary. To Simon Dello's credit, if you asked me what his political leanings were, I would have literally no idea. Just as I didn't know yours when you were on air, I actually didn't know Sean Plunkett's when he was on Radio New Zealand. Paul Holmes.
Do you know mine now, Bob, or not?
Yeah, I know. You're a raving manic right-wing fundamentalist conservative. I mean, you are history, but with a little tendency of left. But that's the thing. That to me is a true broadcaster. Whereas when I watch 3 News, virtually every female presenter there has a serious case of Trump derangement syndrome, which I've highlighted in a couple of McBlogs. But just in general, it's just stripping with sarcasm towards and just their coverage in general. So, I think to Simon Dello's credit and to yours and Sean Plunkett's and Paul Holmes, I think if you can't tell the politics of the newsreader, then that is actually that is professionalism. But speaking of that, I did want to cover this one, especially when you're on as a guest commentator. Media Insider says Radio New Zealand's radio audience has bounced back following changes. Well, the only change that I've heard they've made is that they're copying News Talk ZB and they're having a political panel where they have someone from Labour and somebody from National. That's about the only change that I can think of. Oh, and they've got a new audio boss, so they're making sure that the MP3 is at good quality level and it's not peaking. Only the technicals will understand that one. But I actually did a deep dive into their figures, and I just want to show you this, Peter, because I think they should be worried. So in this graph, the red is Radio New Zealand and the blue is News Talk ZB. And I have drawn a orange line across there at where Radio New Zealand say they have bounced back to in the latest. Now, when I look at that, all I can see is that from about 2020 onwards, when they were getting funded and the government was telling them what to say about COVID, etc., they have just been dropping. They did really badly at the beginning of this year. They've had a little pickup in the last ratings. Could be the margin of error for all we know. But then I looked at News Talk ZB, which is the blue, and I've drawn a line from their peak, which is beginning of 2022. They too seem to be in freefall. I get the impression that news radio should be majorly concerned. Would you agree, or do you think?
Well, there's certainly a pattern there, isn't there? And then, of course, in the black, you've got the very short-lived and not lamented Today FM, which was the successor to the station that I was once involved with called Magic Talk.
Yeah.
And that started off poorly and didn't get much better before it was finally put out of its misery. Yeah, the News Talk ZB trend is interesting. That little bounce back of RNZ, yeah, I mean, the point is you look at the 2025 figures and compare them to the 2020 figures, and it's a massive drop off in audience. It's about 30%, isn't it? About over.
This is the breakfast. Yeah. This is specifically breakfast. So that's morning report out the far
morning
left.
Report, yeah. So you've gone from 500K down to around about. So you've lost 20% of your audience, haven't you? So the ZB thing, yeah, that's a bit of a trend that, you know, they're a bit arrogant at ZB because they know that they're so far ahead of the nearest commercial competitor, let alone the non-commercial competitor, that they're not too worried about it. They also have great support from the advertising agencies, whereas outfits like the Platform, well, it's not outfits like the Platform, it is the Platform, which is, I would suspect, making a reasonable inroads into the ZB audience, just gets no support really from the advertising agency community, because advertising agencies are run, to use Simon Bridges' words, run by wokesters, and they most certainly won't be interested, and in fact Plunkett has lamented this regularly on the Platform, they're just not interested in putting their corporate money through the agencies the way of the Platform. No. He's got a very small sales force, Plunkett, and it's really just direct advertising with, you know, a small number of clients. He can't get any agency money, and that's really just because of the politics of the situation. If you're not woke, if you're not prepared to play the game, you won't get the money, and as a consequence, you know, Plunkett's operation is marginal financially, to say the least, but it obviously must be having some sort of an impact on ZB. The other thing, Bob, is the rise of the podcast. Yeah, I don't know about you, but you know, I'm a pretty serious media consumer, but I'm listening less and less to live radio. I'm a big man for podcasts now, particularly the kind you can download. You know, where I live, you go for a drive, it doesn't take you long before you're in an area where you lose radio reception. So you want to have some kind of entertainment for your whole trip. For instance, if I drive from here to Queenstown, I've got to go through the Kawarau Gorge. There is no radio reception in there. There's no mobile phone reception in there either. But if you have a podcast which is downloaded, you can listen the whole way through the gorge, and it works well. So there's a lot of that I find in my life. Maybe other people are doing the same thing as well. So perhaps that is just another indication of live news radio not having the appeal that it did, and more people just looking for other options. And of course, Family First is a burgeoning media empire as well. I mean, your good self, you have some decent numbers as well. Okay, you're in the online space. You'd never go to have 500,000 a morning kind of thing, but you do have decent audiences. So people are looking for other outlets as well.
Yeah. Who's your, I'm interested to know just who your go-to podcasts are. I mean, I listen to Megan Kelly for US News. I also listen to commentary from Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Leighton Smith, if he has a good commentary on. I read your Substack. Simon O'Connor also writes Substack. Those are probably the Centrist. I think is doing a very good job at just reporting news from a balanced
I like the
side.
Centrist. Yeah. I get a feed from Cam Slater every morning on the Good Oil. His post at 8:00 every morning. I read Farah, who posts every morning on Kiwi Blog. At 7:00. doesn't take long. It's usually a pretty short post, but I'll go back to that for the comments during the day. They're often quite entertaining.
Who would be your international news one?
I listen to, please don't hit me over the head, but I listen to Tucker Carlson quite a lot.
Yeah. He had a fantastic guest on health and marijuana just recently, which I would say is compulsory listening for everybody. It was a superb commentary on especially the danger of cannabis.
Yeah, and I think I did hear that. And he also just had a great argument, which lasted for about an hour, with Piers Morgan.
Oh, yes.
So shouting over the top of each other. But those two are good friends, but they have, shall we say, varying political opinions about the state of the West. And, Carlson is obviously seriously frustrated about the way that America has developed. And I don't think he's as much in love with Donald Trump now as he was at the start of the year with J.D. Vance. So he's frustrated as heck, whereas Morgan, shall we say, is just a lot more liberal in his views.
Yeah. I also just saw you just reminded me with Piers Morgan, I watched a clip today where he was interviewing a woman who basically 10 cops turned up to her place, came into her house while she was in the bath. She was arrested, and it was because she posted online and she used the F word, but it was the FAGGOT word.
Yeah, and that was discussed in
Unbelievable.
That was a story that Tucker Carlson told Morgan about during their face-to-face. Morgan had never heard of it, but it came out of, I think, the Daily Express or the Daily Mail or whatever. I didn't realise the woman was arrested while she was in the bath, but she rang or made the complaint about domestic abuse. She was apparently beaten up by a male, whom she then used the F word to describe, and
she got arrested. Unbelievable.
He got arrested for using that word.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you've got what's her name, Lucy Connolly, sentenced to prison for 31 months for reposting a tweet.
They got the teacher in Ireland who is back in prison because he won't use the preferred pronouns.
Yeah, then you've got Graham Linehan being met at Heathrow. The stories in Britain are quite extraordinary, but that's a broadcast and a podcast all by itself, isn't it? The state of justice in Britain today.
Okay, look, we're fast running out of time. I did want to actually just get your opinion, though. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of cabinet ministers, because I asked this of the Straight Talk panel last week, and it was interesting, just of the cabinet ministers, any that have stood out to you?
Well, I think that because of the fact that she's finally got around to making some moves regarding treaty obligations, I think Erica Stanford does stand out as somebody who has achieved something in the education sector. And, she puts out the standards and says you've got to have an hour's worth of reading, writing and maths every day. I'm yet to be convinced that's happening in all the schools. I heard a story as recently as last Friday. We had some people out for tea, and they'd had their granddaughter after school that Friday afternoon, and they just asked their 9-year-old granddaughter at a school not far from where I live, what did you do today? And there was no formal reading, there was no formal writing, and there was no formal mathematics during the day, but there was an hour of kapa haka practice. And this is in the rural South Island, Bob. Yeah. So I just really wonder how much of the government directive is being followed by the very unionised and very female teaching workforce. Yeah. So Stanford, I would give a pass mark to for at least trying to improve education standards.
Any other standouts?
But I'm waiting for Bishop to come down with his RMA reform or resource management reform, and Simeon Brown. I'm liking what he's doing. I thought he was great in transport. I think he's health's an impossible portfolio, but I'm I'm impressed by what he's trying to do. And, Seymour, I think, is a great politician, but he hasn't really had many wins, has he? I don't know quite what the point of the Regulatory Standards Bill is, or the Regulatory Standards Act is, but it's gone through. I'm just really annoyed that Treaty Principles Bill never got past stage one. I'm immensely disappointed in the Minister of Finance, and I'm pretty disappointed, very disappointed in the Prime Minister. So,
what about Winston, Minister of Foreign Affairs?
Well, he does a good job at Foreign Affairs, but he never actually gets great. He doesn't get runs on the board, to use that old expression. I'm not totally convinced that he's been a raging success as the New Zealand First Party leader. Shane Jones, frankly, has been the standout performer for New Zealand First, as far as I'm concerned, and Casey Costello not far behind. Winston has done a fine job in terms of the diplomacy, but that's all very well. But have we? I know he's not the trade minister, but has his diplomacy led to the great economic benefits through trade that we're hoping for? And of course, he's going to be the handbrake when it comes to not so much selling assets, but recycling state assets, which this country desperately needs to do. And if Winston is back in the coalition government from 2026 to 2029, when the National Party will obviously want to start liquidating a few of the $536 billion worth of assets that they own, to start paying off a bit of debt, to manage the economy in a different way, Winston's going to say no. So we're just not going to be able to sell the Landcorp farms. We're not going to be able to float Kiwi Bank on the stock market while Winston's around. It's just so frustrating in that respect. I know he calls himself New Zealand First, and he's been consistent on that policy for 30 years. But there are many aspects of life in New Zealand that the government should not be involved in. And banking and farming are two that come to mind pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right. Look, we're just about out of time, but I thought I'd just chuck in a fun question, a trick question. And so this is the front row of the Labour Party. I was just wondering if you could tell me which of those you would have in your political party if you got into power. Any standouts there? I told you it was a trick question.
I'm told that Barbara Edmonds is very, very smart and would do well as a Minister of Finance in whatever colour of government was in power. In fact, she has worked, I believe, in a Prime Minister's office when there was a national administration. Apparently a very smart tax lawyer. I've talked to people who have had conversations with her at business functions. She's highly, highly regarded and super intelligent, a great expert in matters of tax. And also, Bob, she's got, 8 children?
Wow.
So extraordinary woman.
Just for that. Well done.
Yeah.
Although my understanding is Craig Rennie is going to possibly be a candidate for Labor, and if he gets in, he would be given the nod for finance, wouldn't he, Craig Rennie, the CTU?
No, I think he would not be...
Have to do his time?
Yeah, he'd have to do his time. He might be an associate minister. He's a pretty smart guy, but that Yorkshire accent puts me off, I'm afraid. Smacks a bit too much of cloth cap unionism.
All right, let's just before we go, let's just check because the comments have been piling in. Nigel says only the journalistic balanced will survive. Well said, Peter. Fourth Adam reckons that that Peggy, that principal's got a PhD in food safety. I'm not sure if that's tongue in cheek or not.
No, it's not.
Super Hone says net zero is $1 trillion experiment with no clear proof it will measurably cool the planet. Models run hot. IPCC shows no clear global trend in floods, fires or storms. Data first, fear last. Sue says she watches Sky News. Peter Credlin, excellent commentary. We need a New Zealand arm like that. here, although Family First, the platform, Chris Lynch, Duncan Garner is another one that we would add to the list. Ben says it's Enoch Burke in Ireland who's getting in trouble for that. Murray says, if Edmonds is clever, what is she doing in the Labour Party? Rosie
To be
says,
fair, Bob, it's only second-hand reports I've had about her.
Dr. Verrill is useless as a health minister. Would love to ask her, when did she last do a shift in a hospital? Your mate Ben says, Peter Williams, what a great host. Did you pay for that? Anna
No,
says,
but thank you,
love,
Ben.
love Winston. People telling me Enoch Burke. And Grant says, so Peter votes Labour. I don't know how, Grant, I don't know how you came to that conclusion. But anyway, and Monkeybot says, what is a woman, Chris? Which will be the enduring question. He sort of figured it out, but he sort of answered the question and then went, but. And whenever you answer a question with but, you know that they don't really mean it. Anyway, well done.
The other thing on that photo of the Labour Party front bench is that at least two of them, Megan Woods and Duncan Webb, aren't standing again anyway.
Right.
So does that mean Christchurch is swinging to the right, Bob?
Well, here's the interesting thing about this graph is that all those ones on the front bench all served under Jacinda. So they're all part of the government 2020 to 2023, which we're still picking up the mess from.
Yeah.
So Labour are going to try and paint themselves as the, best alternative. They can fix things. Everyone just needs to point to their track record 2020 to 2023 and they'll certainly see. In fact, I was going to, look, I just can't resist this. I was going to show these graphs. We haven't got time for it, but this is patients being admitted discharged from an emergency department within 6 hours. Notice that white line is all going down during Labour's term, and then it starts to turn around when National comes in. And this is elective treatment waiting less than 4 months. It dropped. Notice it drops right down to 2023 again. National are working hard to try and build it back up again. That's them in the red. So this is what Simeon has inherited. And I think, like you say, he's doing a tough job because health has been driven into the ground by the last government, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know how you ever solve the health problem because the budget just gets bigger and bigger each year. Apart from national superannuation, it's the biggest expenditure in the budget every year. In excess
all
of
your
30
golf
billion.
injuries don't help either, Peter.
Well, that's the thing about it. If we became a healthier nation, we wouldn't have to go to the doctor so often, Bob. If we
Exactly.
ate better, exercised better, and therefore just lived lives that were in general much healthier, we wouldn't need medical services and health services.
Is this a pitch for no McDonald's in Wanaka?
Well, yes, it is. Unfortunately, they're coming.
I know.
They've got
They're going to
themselves
get
another
there. Whether
spot.
you like it or not, they're going to be there. I just want you to know that.
Well, at least they're out of the way and I won't be visiting them.
Anyway, thank you very much for sitting in for Simon. I noticed somebody commented, so obviously Simon shared it. He is at a relative's, close relative's funeral in Australia, so he flew over for that. So obviously family first, but appreciate you coming off the subs bench and filling in so grandly, and we are out of time. So thank you, Peter, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back next Thursday with our final show for 2025. Until then, have a great night.